Because that's really what this is about for me, helping people to understand how their energy is set up so that they can avoid burnout. A lot of times when we get to be middle age or right before middle age, people say that they're going through a midlife crisis. You might just be burnt out from overworking yourself against your natural energy type. Today's quickie is about how we're conditioned to work or not work. So here we go. Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe your energy is just set up in a different way. Okay? So here is the setup. You ever notice how some days you can work for hours and hours and you feel just fine? And then other days, even the smallest little task feels heavy. Like, I don't feel like doing this. I cannot wait till this is over, right? And then when we think about and we compare those two different ways that we might show up, it might make us question our motivation or question, am I supposed to be doing this? Question, am I even good at this? Question, is this even right for me? And don't get me wrong, those questions are good because when we start to question things, it can help us lead to a deeper awareness. So, if that resonates, right, let's try this on. Maybe your energy isn't designed for consistent output every day. Remember the old school, maybe they still have them on, I don't know, but the Energizer Bunny commercial, the Energizer battery Energizer battery commercial that had the Energizer Bunny as a mascot. And it's like they keep going and going and going, like to tell you that advertising that Energizer batteries are long lasting, right? And they just going to keep working for you. In some ways, society is set up to make us think that like once you become a working adult, once you turn eight, depending on the culture that you grew up in, once you turn 18, once you become a working adult, once you get a job, then that's what you need to be doing. Consistent output every day that you go to work, right? But in human design, about 30% of people have what's called an open sacral center. So, what that means is they don't generate steady work energy on demand. Instead, their energy works in bursts and it is deeply, deeply influenced by the environment and who they're around. So when the world says, oh, just push through, just keep grinding, just get your second wind and keep going, their bodies, if they have an open sacral center, is actually saying, nah, I need rest. I need to recharge. I need to not keep going. Now, where does conditioning come in? Like I just said, many of us are conditioned that once we become a working adult, once we get the job, you need to adhere to that schedule. The jobs say your hours are 9 to 5, 5 days a week, right? So you need to just plug into that like an energizer bunny, like a battery. You need to just plug into that and do it. But if you have an open sacral center, you don't generate that sustainable workforce energy. You borrow it from the people who are in your environment. It really makes me think of many of us have finished school, and many of us, when we were in school, had to do something called the group project. Okay, let me know if you've ever been in school, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, whatever level, and you got your teacher put you in a group and said, okay, y'all going to do a group project, and y'all got the assignment, and y'all had the rubric, y'all had all the requirements, and you had the due date. And usually when you do a group project, at the end of the project, like to get y'all grade, you have to do a presentation most times, because most times, sometimes it may not be that way, but a lot of times it's like that, right? If you have done a group project before, you may have, or it may not have been you, but you may be familiar with either yourself or others having this kind of experience. So and so did all this work. Like I did all this work. Like I did all this research. I took all the notes. I wrote the paper. All so and so did was sit there and kind of delegate and say, okay, you should do this and you should do that. And this other person kind of sat there and just gave us some ideas, but they didn't really like execute the ideas. They just kind of like gave us the ideas. And then one person is the person who ends up being the one to present it all to the classroom, because there might be one person, the person who did the research may feel a little shy, so they may feel like, well, that's an even trade off because I ain't want to be the one talking anyway. But then it sometimes could feel like there's an imbalance. Everyone didn't pull the same amount of weight, so to speak, all right, because everybody didn't do the same thing. Guess what? When you understand who you are from the lens of human design, you start to really deeply understand that everyone's not meant to work the same way. So you really can't weigh work output like that. Just because one person is really, really good at doing the research, taking the long hours to do the research, to write the paper, right? Those people are likely energetically optimized to work that way. When I say energetically optimized, I mean that their energetic makeup is designed for that consistent output, that consistent. I don't want to say labor, but it is labor. You know what I'm saying? It's work. They're optimized for that consistent building, so it works out for them. In human design, we also learn that some people are optimized to get ideas and share them. But those people, the type that is optimized to do that, they don't have the defined sacral. They have an open sacral. So when it comes to actually sustaining the idea that they had, when I say sustaining, I mean actually getting busy to see the idea through, getting busy to do the work to make sure that the idea comes to life. That's not how their energy is set up. But they did do their part though by giving the idea, okay? Does that make sense? Let me know. So, what can you do if you look at your chart and you realize that you have an open sacral center? Well, here are some things you can do. Instead of forcing productivity when you don't feel like being productive, like human design, and I want to say this too, because this whole idea about understanding and understanding how your energy is naturally set up, it really requires you to learn how to tune into your body and the signals that your body is giving to you. I'm beginning to realize more and more that many people, many of us have experienced a disconnect from our bodies. So it's not, or we have been conditioned to override our natural body signals so much, finding a logical excuse for it, like you're lazy. That's the logical excuse that society will tell you if you feel tired, like maybe 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday, really isn't enough for you to fully recharge, especially after if you have an open sacral and you've been working in a traditional schedule for years and years and years. By the time all that compounds, 2 days off, it really might not feel like enough time for you to recharge. So you still feel tired a little bit when you got to go to work, or when people want to get up on the weekends and feel and party and stuff, and you're like, I'm tired, y'all. You know, and it's just like, oh, like what's wrong with you? And it's like nothing's wrong. I'm just not set up that way. I wanted to add that because when I say instead of forcing productivity, notice where when the energy naturally shows up for you to work. It really requires you to tune into your body and and be okay with being honest with yourself and say, actually, I don't feel like doing this right now. I'm not saying that if you realize that, then you should say, oh, if I don't feel like doing this right now, then I'm just not going to go to work today. I'm going to quit my job. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying right now to start noticing it so you can develop a deeper awareness, because that's where it starts, to just have an awareness. Once you start to just notice, when does my energy naturally show up and really want to get busy, and when does it kind of feel flat, like I really need to rest, and not only noticing time of day. Like not even noticing it this from just the perspective of I got some rest or I didn't get rest. But also notice how this shows up with the people that you're around. If you have an open sacral center, your open sacral would be borrowing sacral energy from the people in your environment that have a defined sacral center. That's why the group project actually does work so well when we can explore it from this lens, because those generators, that's what you in human design we call people who have a defined sacral generator types. So those generators are sharing their sacral energy with you. That's kind of giving you a pick me up, allowing you to feel more energized to get some work done. All right, so notice the people that you're around when you feel those energetic bursts, and also notice the environments that you're in when you feel those bursts of energy, and also notice the way that you feel about the work that you are doing. If the work that you're doing already feels like it drains you and you have an open sacral, that's just drain that's like trying to fill up a leaky bucket. The energy is just going to keep draining out of it, and you're really not going to be able to feel fulfilled or replenished or recharged after a while. I want to say right here, many of us have gotten so used to overriding that signal in our body that we just, chalk it up to, oh, I'm just lazy, or I just need more rest. Okay, more rest is not going to fix the fact that you've been working against how your natural energy is set up. It's going to catch up after a while. When you do that, work with those windows of energy, and try to start avoiding being judgmental of the times when you feel like you're not really feeling it, because that's good data. It helps you to understand yourself better. Something that I would recommend to anyone who looks at their human design chart and notices that they have an open sacral, start to prioritize rest before you get to the point of being exhausted, not after you've already experienced burnout, because then it gets even harder to give yourself the grace that you need to take the rest, and to set things in place, put things in motion so that you can actually get that rest. If you're curious about this, you can go to, I'm gonna put the command in the chat. It will take you right to a place where you can generate your personal human design chart. And when you do that, you want to take a look to see if your sacral center is open or defined. Okay? So your chart shows whether that energy in your sacral is consistent. If it's consistent, it's going to be defined. Or if it's variable. If it's variable, that means your sacral is open. And understanding that alone changes how you treat yourself, because it's like, okay, I have the awareness now that I'm just not set up that way. Think about it like this. I'm gonna make it so practical. So practical, it's gonna knock your socks off. When I was a child, there was a such thing as in the summertime, not going swimming or not having water play because I couldn't get my hair wet. And the reason why I was told that I couldn't get my hair wet is because my hair would coil up once it got wet. If it was straightened, like with a straightening comb, hot, or you might know it as a hot comb, or like with flat irons, once the water hits it, it goes back to its natural state, kind of like how I look right now. And back in the day when I was growing up, it was taboo to wear my hair like this. It was not cool. I had to get it straightened. I had to get it done. So if I didn't have a hair relaxer, it was like my hair is not set up to be getting my hair wet. If or like how women of other races, white girls, Asian girls, when they get their hair wet, it's a lot different. My hair was not set up to be that way. You see what I'm saying? So I restricted myself a lot of times from going to get in the water, or I would put one of them dumbass, what you call them, swim caps on my head, all tight, all tight on your head and shit, right? so that I could get in the water and preserve my straight hair. Cause when my hair would get wet, it would poof up. Okay, be in fro mode. So it's the same thing here. When you have that awareness, it helps you understand how to treat yourself. And now you know. Oh, it's not that I'm lazy. I'm just not set up that way. Okay? So if this resonated, go ahead and get your chart. Exploring your design can help explain a lot about your personal relationship with work and with rest. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I know my human design. Or you might, and I have a defined sacral and I feel tired all the time. Or you might go get your chart and realize that your sacral center is defined, but still feel lazy or unmotivated at times. Okay? Here's what I'll suggest that you do then. First, using your human design chart, you can check your will center. In some softwares, it's called the heart center. So you can, I think on my software, it might be called the heart. You could also look at the root center. See if one of those are open. An open will center means that you have variable access to willpower. So that means that your willpower isn't consistent. It means that your willpower is borrowed from others who have a defined will center. And when you're near those people, you feel a lot more motivated to get things done than when you're not. An open root center may make you feel pressure to work when you actually don't feel like working. Okay, so that's where that could come from if you have a defined sacral center. The other thing that could be going on if you're like, well, actually, my will center is defined, and so is my root center, and so is my sacral center, and I still feel lazy sometimes or like I don't want to do shit. That, my friend, could be a result of conditioning. And conditioning happens in a lot of ways. We all get conditioned. We get conditioned by our family of origin. We get conditioned by our own lived experiences. We get conditioned by societal norms and cultural norms. We get conditioned by our ancestral memory. Our generational energy patterns are also a form of conditioning. Those energy mindsets and types that live inside of us could have had us working against our energy type for so long that, remember what I said earlier, we learn how to override our body's natural signal, and we start living what we call in human design off the chart, off your own chart. So the way to get back on the chart is to start. No one lives on a chart or off the chart in real life, but I'm saying, when I say that, I mean in terms of your energy. When you start to, see how your energy type is set up and start to align your lifestyle with how your energy type is set up, you start to see an improvement in everything. You start to see an improvement in how you feel physically, because you start to use your energy more naturally aligned to how you are. And so that alone right there is going to make you feel better energetically. And then you start to attract the experiences to you that are aligned to you specifically. And then that helps you to work better and to make better decisions for yourself as well. So, that is our human design quickie for today. Again, if you need to get your human design chart, the link right there is in the chat. I'll pin it for a little bit so that you can go ahead and grab that if you like. And snip, snap, snout, this tale is told out. Thank you so very much.